Yo, what's good, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another Tyler Perry's Divorce Sistas review. If this is your first time coming to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning family member, then you already know what it is and what it always will be. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell somebody to tell somebody if you choose to, but if not, just sit back, relax while we get into this messy thing. Now, this is the synopsis for season 1. Episode 4 of Divorce Sistas, and the title of this episode is Line in the Sand. And the synopsis read, Naomi lashes out at her ex-husband's ultimate disrespect. Rashida and Pastor Jefferson have a moment of hurtful truths. Now, if you listen to, I believe it was synopsis 1, I can't remember, we find out, or we already know, that Naomi is the nuck if you buck friend. Naomi is the friend that's going to get things done. Naomi is the one who obviously don't mind going to jail, don't mind doing some illegalities when it comes to protecting her feelings and maybe the feelings of her friends. She's that chick. You know, you always want to have a Naomi on your team, but you got to be careful because, you know, Naomi could go to jail and bring you along with her. Now, it says that her husband's, she lashes out because of her ex-husband's ultimate betrayal. So we clearly know that Naomi and her husband are clearly divorced. We don't know how long they have been divorced for, but I remember in the trailer that was released, we find out that Naomi feels that she gave the best years of her life to her husband. So I'm going to say they could have met in college. They probably spent all their 20s together and majority of their 30s, because I honestly do not know the ages of the women on the show, how old they're going to be as their characters. So that's the thing. And Naomi is definitely coming from a place of hurt when it comes to this ex-husband. And based on what I saw in the trailer, even though we didn't get an opportunity to hear him speak, he definitely struck me as the type of man who is fully aware of everything that he's doing. He knows that Naomi is hurt. He knows that she's dealing with the ramifications of their divorce, and he's trying to rub it in her face. That's what I get from the guy who is playing her husband. And he had this other chick on his arm. So I'm wondering if Naomi's husband was cheating on her with the woman that we see in the trailer. And this is the woman that he brings to, I'm assuming it's the banquet that the church is having. Let me tell y'all something. These men in the church, not all of them, because there are some men in the church who love God with all their heart, that's walking upward, that's walking straight, and love their wives. Then you have those who in the church looking for their next conquest. Okay, they may be married, but they are already seeking out who they gonna have sex with on Bible study Wednesday. Okay, I'm letting you know. If I don't know nothing else, I know church. I know black church and everything that happened all up and through there. Trust me, I have stories for years. Bump stories for days, stories for years. So I believe this is where the goes to the man's house, or she does something. But whatever she does, there are some police officers who surrounds her, and possibly we're going to see Naomi go to jail or be arrested, or maybe someone is going to help her out before it gets that far. But that is the line that Naomi is walking right now when it comes to this ex-husband and, you know, dealing with the need for revenge. And sometimes when someone is in that space, you cannot talk them out of it. The last part of this synopsis is Rashida and Pastor Jefferson have a moment of truth. And Rashida is played by LaToya Luckett, and Pastor Jefferson will be played by Devon Franklin. And I am so interested in seeing what has caused certain issues to exist within their marriage, because she is the first lady and he is the senior pastor. And I'm wondering if it's infidelity or if it's just the fact that he's not spending adequate time with her as her wife and as his wife. And I wonder if they have children, because, and I think this is what I'm going to love about this show, because like I said, I know church, I know black church, I know what it's like, you know, being married within the church system, being married to a pastor, and they begin to, the family suffers because a lot of the time, you know, it's spent at church. A lot of the time, you know, it's spent in meetings, meeting people, going to hospitals, and, you know, really not being engaging with your family. And I understand that, but I also, you know, dealing with like spirituality and biblical principles. A lot of people, whether it's the church, and I get that. But when you want to be biblical, the first institution that God created was marriage, not the church. So above all, whether you are a man who is a pastor or a woman who is a pastor, your husband and your wife and your family is your top priority, is your first responsibility. That's where you should be invested in. So I am so interested to see how Pastor Jefferson's dynamic with Rashida, because I don't know if they are still married. I don't know if they are divorced or going through a divorce, or divorce is something that is on the horizon for these two people. But dealing with church issues, I'm so interested to see how Tyler maneuvers this and how it's played out. One thing for sure, LaToya Luckett is going to act her behind off. She's going to give you feelings. She's going to give you emotions. You're going to feel each and every word on the page that is given to her, because she is that great of an actress. So I am so interested, like I said, to see how this plays out and to deal with some hurtful truths. And sometimes hurtful truths are just exposing the things that we both know exist within our union, but we've just been too afraid to say. So, like I said, I'm interested. This is probably the relationship that I have the most interest in so far. And that's not from seeing one episode. That's just from briefly seeing a trailer and reading the synopsis, but also understanding the things that could possibly happen or that has happened within this situation. And all I'm going to say is, if Pastor Jefferson is boning the members of his church, he is bold as hell. Oh, they out there. Then let me say that. Those kind of pastors are out there, but you're bold, and the women in the church are bold too, if they choose to do that. And it's just, it's just sad, because these women will look at you in your face every Sunday, every Wednesday, every choir practice, rehearsal, all that, knowing they boning your man. Baby, let me tell you something. That would be the one day I'm a pastor's wife. Oh, baby, I'm going to be on the news. I'm going to be on the news, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to turn the other cheek. Lord, I know what you said, but I have to ask you for forgiveness, because I can't I refuse to follow the word right now. I'm being responsible, because what? Oh, Lord, let me get off this thing, because I'm getting a little upset thinking about it. But I want to thank you guys for listening, and let me know if you're going to be watching the show when it premieres, when it comes out. I'm going to be reviewing it. So make sure y'all come. Make sure you subscribe if you have enjoyed what you've heard thus far. Over here, we're going to have fun. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have fun. I'm going to talk about God, because that's the most important, being in my life. We're going to talk about my experiences. We're going to just have fun. I think, we're definitely going to be serious with the topics, but really connecting and having fun with this show and seeing it from all angles and things of that nature. So I'm excited to engage in something new. So I want to thank you guys for listening. Until next time, I will holler at y'all later, and y'all be safe out there. One.